Today we're here in the Transylvania region of Romania. We're going to be taking a tour of this 14th century castle known as the Bran Castle. This is also the castle that inspired Bram Stoker's novel Dracula, and it comes complete with a torture chamber. Let's have a look. Bran Castle, often referred to as Dracula's Castle, is a 14th century Gothic style castle located in the Transylvania region of Romania. Its ties to Bram Stoker's novel Dracula have been greatly exaggerated over the years, however, and the connection is nothing more than a ploy to boost tourism. Bram Stoker himself never actually visited the castle from what I understand. I believe he had only seen a sketch of it. There are other nominal connections, but I won't get into that. We're just here to adore and maybe learn a little bit about this beautiful historic landmark. The first thing that strikes me as I visit any medieval site is the juxtaposition of our modern romantic fantasies of medieval times versus the often brutal reality. This castle wasn't built for a princess. Its sole purpose was defense, as it is strategically located on a trade route that dates back thousands of years across multiple time periods in human history. The castle was built by Saxons in 1377, who were given the privilege by King Louis I of Hungary. In the year 1212, the Teutonic Order built a wooden castle as a fortified position at the entrance to the mountain pass through which traders had traveled for more than a millennium. This castle was destroyed by the Mongols in the year 1242. First documented mention of Bran Castle is the act issued by Louis I of Hungary on the 19th of November, 1377, giving the Saxons of Kronstadt, known today as Brasov, the privilege to build a stone castle at their own expense and with their own labor force. The settlement of Bran began to develop nearby. In 1438 to 1442, the castle was used in defense against the Ottoman Empire and later became a customs post on the mountain pass. Though many castles of the time belonged to members of the nobility, it has been established that the Bran Castle was built almost exclusively for fortification and protection of German colonists in Transylvania. Over the years, Bran Castle has changed hands, but has generally always been used for defense. In fact, the castle has played a strategic military role right up until the mid-1700s. The castle is now a museum, dedicated to displaying art and furniture, most of which was collected by Queen Marie of Romania. There's so many winding staircases and different pathways. I visited quite a few medieval castles in my day, but this has to be one of the most amazing. This is interesting. They've left a cutout of the wall here in the newer construction, so you can see some of the original foundation. Out here, from the balcony, we get a good view of the courtyard. Up first, the prayer cross. This brutal instrument was used to immobilize the culprit in a cross-like position. It is believed to have been invented in Austria in the 16th century, as a similar device was found in the tower of Castle Salzburg. The throne. This wooden, chair-like device was often referred to sarcastically as the throne. The victim was placed upside down, their feet bound with wooden blocks. Such torture was a favorite among judges who wished to strictly enforce the law. At the time, the legislation that regulated the use of torture only permitted one session during each interrogation, and the throne was a great way to circumvent this restriction, as one session could last as long as 10 days. Additional torture methods may have been inflicted on the victim as they were strapped into the throne, such as water torture or the use of a red-hot iron poker. The Virgin of Nuremberg. The idea of mechanizing torture was born in Germany, where the Virgin of Nuremberg has its origins. This device gets its name from the fact that its exterior resembles a Bavarian girl, and also because its prototype was constructed and first used in the underground tunnels of the secret courthouse in Nuremberg, Germany. The condemned party was closed inside this contraption, where their body was pierced by sharp spikes. The spikes were positioned in such a manner that even though they penetrated various parts of the body, they did not rupture any vital organs, ensuring a long and agonizing period of suffering. The first account of an execution with the Virgin, as it's called, dates back to the year 1515 and was detailed by Gustav Freytag in his book, Pictures from the German Past. The armchair of inquiry. This brutal device is pretty self-explanatory. In order to withdraw a confession from the subject, they would be seated in the interrogation seat until the answers suddenly came to them. Heavy weights would be placed in the victim's lap until the pain became too much to bear. The chastity belt. It is commonly believed that the chastity belt was used to ensure a wife's faithfulness while her husband was away on long crusades. Others believe that it is nothing more than a work of fiction and was never used at all. Scholars today now suspect the chastity belt may have been a real device that was voluntarily worn by women to avoid being raped. Nevertheless, it could still be considered an instrument of torture to which women would subject themselves in order to avoid the violence of men. Now for the breaking wheel. This insane contraption achieves maximum depravity. The suspect would be crammed into the spokes of a wooden wheel. A sledgehammer would be used to break the victim's joints so they could better contort into the wheel. Remember, the victim is still alive at this point. Later, the entire setup would be displayed in town square, victim and all, spinning round and round in full view of the public. The head clamp, another self-explanatory device. It seems the key to inventing the most diabolical and cruel torture devices is simplicity. The rack, another multi-purpose torture device. The victim could be stretched by their limbs until their joints dislocated, subject to the hot poker, water torture, or a whole host of other horrific acts. It is unclear exactly from which civilization the rack originates, though some of the earliest examples are from Greece. The Greeks may have first used the rack as a means of torturing slaves, and later in special cases, such as in 356 BC, when it was applied to gain a confession from Herostratus, an arsonist who was later executed for burning down a temple that was one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. Impaling. Impalement as a method of torture is the penetration of the human body by an object such as a stake, pole, spear, or a hook. Survival length was determined by how the stake was inserted. If it went into the vital organs, it could easily lead to a swift death. However, by letting the stake follow the spine, the impalement procedure would not damage vital organs, and the person could survive for several days. The mask of shame. These ridiculous-looking masks were worn by the victim in order to humiliate them. These devices might be used on those caught lying or gossiping too much. Torture by humiliation. that's going to do it for this video. I hope you've enjoyed. If so, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a mean comment. Once again, thanks for watching.